Shaun, Rabb, Stephen Dowell joining us now to kind of break down and digest all of the major news that we've had, not just today, but obviously in the past weeks. Shaun, I want to start with you and just kind of lean on your expertise covering campaigns over the years. What do you expect to see in terms of the pace of this campaign? We still don't technically know who the Democrats are going to put forward, but you know, if you're in the Harris camp at this point in time, you kind of got to start campaigning right now.
Oh, she started, and it's going to be a campaign in the fast lane if you're on the expressway. And what we're seeing happen with all of these folks who are endorsing her, they're trying to shut down all the on-ramps so no one else decides, perhaps Joe Manchin, but outside of that, no one else decides they want to challenge her for the nomination.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Do you think, Stephen, that's going to be, you know, if the Democrats don't make it seem like an open process, do you think that's going to be attacked by Republicans? It's probably going to be attacked by Republicans, but do you think that's actually going to resonate or matter with voters?
I mean, it's going to matter with the base of the Republican Party. Some people have said Republicans are going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. There's going to be legal challenges, despite if they have any standing or not. Democrats say that they're having an open process. James Clyburn has been on saying this is open, it's just unique. And so Republicans are going to use everything they can to try to throw darts at this.
And Shaun, as you know, we heard Jeffrey Engel saying, used to be the convention was the place where this all happened. It is kind of going to be taking a page out of the history book.
Yeah, the conventions used to be exciting because you didn't know how it was going to turn out, and everyone, as a kid, I was glued to the conventions. Lately, it's no drama to it. I mean, you know how it's going to end. This could be very different and could draw people, just like with the Republican convention, they were drawn to it because of what happened before the convention with Mr. Trump. People are going to be drawn to the Democrat National Convention despite whatever happens over the next month until we get there.
Stephen, I want to bring up, you had a chance to hear from David Cole, the constitutional attorney we frequently hear from earlier in the day. You know, obviously we had heard there's been chatter, some Republicans have been threatening lawsuits. It sounds like from the people you've talked with, you don't expect legal issues, or they don't expect legal issues to be a big issue going forward.
It shouldn't, unless there's something that we're not talking about. The big thing is the narrative that we're going to start hearing is Joe Biden was removed from the ballot. He was never the nominee. And so, granted, while some states may have already printed their ballots, he was not the official party nominee. Donald Trump did not become the official party nominee until a couple of days ago. And so, yeah, there are going to be challenges. It'd be interesting to see what grounds they'll have to stand on it.
Yeah. Shaun, are you surprised by the degree to which we have seen Democrats coalesce behind Vice President Harris almost immediately? Obviously, there are some Democrats that still want there to be some sort of mini primary process, but it seems like, you know, state delegate chairs, lots of key Democrats have already come forward and said, we got to move forward with Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. We saw a number of, well, at least Congress folks, representatives, lining up, not so many senators before, but a couple of things. Friday, the conference call with major donors. At the last minute, Harris is added to that call. Saturday, the texts are flying. If Joe Biden steps down, who do you want to see as the Democrat? That told you something was in the works. And they understand now they have to quickly appear unified as a party. And so, no, I think all of them feel like she's the best chance. Their internal polling shows her doing well in some places against Mr. Trump. They know the states they have to win. The battleground states they have to win, and so they're rolling the dice now with Harris.
Let's shift a little bit to local politics here. You know, one of the themes we heard from some of the Democratic leaders was it's not just the risk that we might lose the White House with Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. It's some of what we're seeing in the polling numbers reflecting some of these congressional races. Stephen, what do you think is going through Colin Allred's mind right now when he really needs, you know, a Democrat needs everything to line up perfectly to have a chance in this state.
Right, and I mean, we're in Texas, so we'll talk about Colin Allred, but I think Democrats in other states may be feeling better now that Kamala Harris could be at the top of the ticket. This certainly would help Colin Allred, but also he's in a huge fight. It's Texas. He's going against Ted Cruz. It's totally different than maybe a heated middle of the ground race in Georgia or Wisconsin. Democrats down ballot will be happier, especially if it's Kamala Harris, because there'll be more energy to go to the polls. It just breathes new life into the Democratic Party. That doesn't mean now Democrats are just going to win and take the White House and take the House and keep the Senate. But it's a new energy that will help a lot of down ballot candidates.
We've got about a minute left, but Shaun, we talked a little bit at the top of the newscast about the border czar being one of the things that Republicans are obviously going to attack. Do you think Democrats try and defend themselves on the border, or do they stray away? Does this become back to a policy issue, especially on topics like abortion going forward, on Donald Trump's legal issues, and maybe age even?
I think they're going to point to look at the numbers at the border now since the executive order of the president. I think they're going to say, we have done something, and this is proof of that. I think that's how they'll try to deflect that.
But Republicans, that's their bread and butter. I mean, she was the border czar. The border was crap, to be completely honest. And so that's something that they can run on.
Okay. Shaun, Stephen, thanks so much.